Hello and welcome back. My name is Zach, and on this channel I mostly review science fiction and fantasy books, but also delve into my other interests such as comics, manga, personal development, and business. But I have interests outside of print media / audio media, such as movies, and that's what I talk about on this weekly kind of vlog style recap of what I've been up to lately, what I've been watching, and what I'm currently reading. So as of this recording, I just finished this past weekend 3 movies, so not too much. It wasn't a very heavy weekend, this being Father's Day and all, but our first movie we watched was The Amateur with Rami Malek. So this one kind of it's the repeat of last weekend. So last weekend I watched The Amateur 2, which was about a normal guy who's actually becomes a killer, and he's, doing everyone. It has John Berthal, the Punisher, in it. And then a week later, The Amateur is on streaming, and it's also about a normal guy who goes on a revenge story and does a bunch of cool things. And it also has the Punisher in it. So it was very weird seeing this back to back with The Accountant 2. But I really enjoyed The Amateur. I thought it was a fun story, a fun take on the everyday man turned into secret assassin kind of killer person, because Rami Malek's character isn't that like secret assassin. This isn't Taken or John Wick, where the normal, seemingly quiet type actually was a former CIA operative. No, Rami Malek's character is just a normal, nerdy analyst. So what happens is, it's spoiled in the trailer, but his wife gets killed and he goes on revenge against his killers. But since he doesn't have that killer instinct, he has to use his brain to figure it out. So it was a kind of cool spin on that, where he's wrapped up into this world of international CIA espionage, but he has to use more of his mind and wits, being an awkward introvert himself, to kind of outsmart the bad guys, outsmart the good guys who are trying to stop him from going on a killing rampage of revenge. So he's trying to evade not only the bad guys that he's trying to catch, but also the CIA, who's he kind of rebelling against in this revenge quest. So really interesting story. I thought it was pretty darn good. It was a great film and a great time for kind of that dichotomy of intellectual plus action, action adventure kind of thriller. So I recommend the Amateur. I thought it was a great watch. And then on Saturday, we finish up what I talked about last week, which is the second half of the Japanese film 11 Rebels. So it's a long movie, and we only got through half of it last weekend, so we finished it off this weekend. And again, I thought it was pretty interesting as well. This movie is about samurai rebels, so it's I think based on a true story of these criminals who are forced to defend a kind of outpost during feudal Japan time, and with the promise that if they successfully defend the outpost, they will get pardoned. So it's kind of in the subtitles at least, they called them a suicide squad. So it's a band of misfits that must come together, work together, even though they're all bad people, but they must kind of work together for the greater good and defeat the enemies. And it's portrayed in a very kind of realistic style, as realistic as a samurai film could be. One of the trailers mentioned that this is a return to form, or one of the quotes, a return to form for the golden age of samurai films. So yeah, a lot of cool action, samurai action of what life, I guess, assumed would be like back then. It's very gritty and raw. The battles, the fights, all the characters felt real. They felt flawed in their own way. They fight, they die, they chicken out, they kill each other. It's a lot of action and violence, and it was a really good time. I really enjoyed 11 Rebels. So if you're into kind of samurai era, the golden era of samurai films, and want some interesting action, I would definitely recommend checking out 11 Rebels. And then lastly, our third movie of the weekend, this Father's Day weekend, was a Chinese movie, which was called Clash. And this one is also based on a true story. And just because it has Clash, as the poster shows, this is not a movie about fighting, but it's fighting on the gridiron. So it's a true story of actually American football in China, in Chongqing specifically. So a really interesting story about this group of ragtag dock workers in Chongqing, and how they kind of come together to start learning how to play American football. And then they, like a typical sports movie, they go through their butting heads and the learning and the training montages as they get a little bit better. They suffer defeat, then they get a little bit more better, then they go on to win the championship. So it's a bit formulaic in the sense that it follows that typical sports movie. Like there was recently that one about soccer team in like Polynesia, with a very similar vibe where it's just like people that aren't really athletes, they get a coach that has a heart of gold, and he teaches the team to come together and unite for victory. And that's what happens here in Clash. We get our foreigner coach, who's a Mexican, who comes together and brings his team together and teaches them all about spirit and teamwork and camaraderie. And it was this kind of heartwarming, very typical story of a sports movie, but interesting, I guess, also because it's in China, it's in Chongqing. It's interesting to see kind of the location that they're playing American football in China. There's some jokes like when they contrast it, when they get kind of talked down to by the soccer team. And if you know about soccer in China, it's not a great reputation. So some funny jokes. It's a lighthearted family kind of feel-good movie, and it was all right. Again, it was that feel-good, not like a very polarizing one way or the other. So worth checking out if you're a fan of football or Chinese cinema in general, and that's Clash. So besides movies, and what else am I up to this past week? I was away on a conference and I was able to get some reading done. So I finished 2 business books and just recorded reviews of those. The first one is Suzy Welch's Becoming You. It's a book, personal development about aligning your life goals and purpose. And then the second business book I read was Apple in China by Patrick McGee, which is a book about Apple's rise in China and how they kind of changed the game with the supply chain of tech in China. So those were interesting books, but I am excited and I can't wait. I've been reading today. I'm 21% through The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. So got the business books out of the way, and I am so ecstatic to be back in the world of the First Law trilogy and finishing up the First Law with Last Argument of Kings. So the book is great so far. I'm really enjoying it. It's got that, the humor of Joe Abercrombie, and this being the third book I've read, I can really see the writing is just improving as we go along. So there's the banter and the kind of inner monologue of the characters. It's just getting better. The part I just read was about Giselle, who is parading through the city with Baez, and then the king dies. And then Giselle thinks, "Oh darn! Now they're no longer going to cheer for me." It just the humor is great. Logan Nine Fingers, the Bloody Nine, he got reunited with Dogman finally. So some great moments. Even so far, I'm only the first 20%, 21% of the book. And finally all the storylines are converging on the third book. So it didn't happen in the first 2 books, but the characters are finally mixing and mingling. Dogman and the Bloody Nine, Logan Nine Fingers, are together. Their interactions have been great so far. Baez is back. I love Baez, but really enjoying Last Argument of Kings and cannot wait to finish this as soon as I can. I'm going to get back and read this as quick as possible. So that's what I've been reading and watching, and I guess one last watching. So because we watched Rami Malek in The Amateur, that's why we only watched 3 movies, is because we realized my wife had never watched Mr. Robot. So I had watched the first season and part of the second season, somehow just stopped second season, I think. But she never watched Mr. Robot, and we were talking about it because we just saw Rami Malek in The Amateur. And so we started watching, and for me, rewatching Mr. Robot. And it's really great on a rewatch. If you know why, if you know, you know. Yes, there's a lot of foreshadowing, and just great seeing everything through the lens of knowing what's coming at the end of season 1. So really enjoying rewatching Mr. Robot. And of course, we're still watching Muderbot. Speaking of bots, Muderbot, the weekly on Apple TV Plus. Great, wrapping up soon. They're just about to hit their next peak here when things are going crazy in Muderbot if you're watching it week to week. So not to spoil too much, but highly recommend Muderbot. I think it's a great sci-fi show. So thanks for watching this vlog style, just yap session of the 3 movies I watched this week, what I recently read, and what I'm currently reading, and can't get wait to finish this video, edit it, and get back to Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. So thanks for watching and have a great day.